guys, I just got a download, and I know I look crazy, but I gotta share this with you. It's still early, so give me a break. For those of you who are dealing with gang stalking and who are dealing with, um, you know, public harassment and everything like that, I got a download that, like, let's say that whoever they are in your life, has also hacked your, um, you know, they can see what you see, right? Whatever you Google or like YouTube, right? Say that you got some weirdos that like hacked your stuff, right? And they use whatever you Googled. Say like you're watching other influencers, right? And say that those influencers say that your intuition that this and that's going to happen to you, right? Or you're going to come across this and that person. And they're going to be wearing this, or they're going to be looking like this, or whatever the case may be, right? Say you got some weird people in your energy doing some weird stuff, because I know some of you are dealing with this. Some of you are dealing with some weirdo in your energy that's hacked your devices or your phone or whatever and can see what you look up. Well, and then you're dealing with gang stalkers or whatever, right? People that follow you around, or you're like being illegally investigated, or whatever the case may be, right? In your particular situation. I just received a download that the people that are in your community or your family or whatever the case may be, if they catch wind of what you're like, if you, for instance, watch influencers, right? And they try to, it's like playing in your face, right? They like try to manipulate your intuition through pretending to be what that influencer said that you should be looking for, or whatever the case may be, to try to play games, right? And manipulate your intuition. I was told that they are going to be in gigantic trouble because they are trying to purposely take the power away from God, and just simply out of their personal gain of thinking it's funny, or whether it's trying to purposely manipulate your intuition into getting you to choose the wrong thing for whatever reason, right? Those people are trying to take away God's power. They're trying to make moves for God, per se. Okay, they're trying to take away his spot in your life. Because say he brings you the real deal or whatever, right? Whether that be a relationship, whether that be, connections or like contracts or whatever the case may be, right? Say he intends to bring you the real deal, right? But if you're dealing with this particular situation, like I just described, and you have somebody who, heard an influencer through stalking you and hacking your device, your phone, or whatever the case may be, right? And chooses to send something else that's similar, looks similar to that, right? They are essentially trying to manipulate what God has for you. And manipulate. So they're purposely getting in God's way. And that's why they will be punished. I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore. I'm just going to lay it on the way that I hear it. And that is the truth of the matter, is they are going to be punished. At the beginning of the year, I was not asking God for, the ethers, whatever creator, however you identify with him. I didn't ask him anything at all. And the beginning of the year, first thing that I heard was, this is the year of reaping. People like to think that God's always just so rainbows and just, so gentle and everything like that. Well, you forget about Sodom and Gomorrah. You forget about, yeah, he gave Moses the power to split the sea, right? To get away from the people that enslaved him, to get away from the was the Pharaoh, right? But he also made that same sea come crashing down on Pharaoh and his army, killing them. So it wasn't just, oh, he split the sea and then let Moses cross and then close the sea and Pharaoh was still living. No. He let it come crashing down to kill all of them. Because God gave Moses instructions to send a message to Pharaoh, gave Pharaoh warning after warning after warning after warning to free Moses and the slaves, right? And he refused. He refused to do it. And Moses kept doing what God told him to do, and warning and warning and warning and warning, telling him, if you don't do it, this is what God's going to do. If you don't do it, this is what God's going to do. If you don't do it, this is what God's going to do. Pharaoh would not listen. Pharaoh would not listen. And finally, he let them go, but then he took it back and started trying to hunt them down again. So, and think about everything that God did. When Moses kept warning and warning and warning, said, okay, if you don't let our people go, you don't let my people go, this is what's going to happen. Your whole land's going to be covered with, wasps or whatever they were called back then, to eat all your crops. People are going to, catch this disease. People, this, and then finally, God wiped out Pharaoh's son, and then he let them go. But then he went to go and chase them down again. And that's when he gave Moses the ability to split the sea through his power. But he also made the sea come crashing down on Pharaoh, killing all of them. So this is what's going to happen. Listen to me carefully, okay? For those of you who are dealing with this, and you got some weirdos doing some strange shit, hacking your shit, and then trying to manipulate you and gaslight you and think it's funny to play games. There's going to be serious repercussions, consequences, because they're trying to get in God's way in your life. God had a plan for Moses and the slaves, and that is why he instructed Moses to go and try to convince Pharaoh to free the slaves. He had other plans for them, rather than just being slaves for the rest of their generation after generation, okay? He had plans, and Pharaoh's disobedience to heeding to the warnings was him trying to stand in God's way of what his purpose was. But see, Pharaoh was being led by ego. Pharaoh, because he was king, thought he was God himself. And a lot of your harassers are being driven by ego. A lot of your stalkers are being driven by ego. Okay? So just remember that. And no, we shouldn't rejoice for there being consequences. But God is also a wrathful God. He's a just God. He's a gentle God. But don't get it mistaken. Think of all the things that he allowed to happen and then he did with his own hand back in biblical times. And the Bible says he's the same yesterday, today, and forever and always, right? So What, he just, after all these years, just became super soft and gentle and he's not going to punish people? Of course he is. Do not stand in his way. I don't know if there's cross watchers or whatever, but don't stand in his way. Don't be stupid. Don't get in his way. He'll wipe you out like he wiped out Pharaoh and his army. Don't do it. Because it's not just going to fall on you. It's going to fall on your kin. Alright? Tread very carefully from coming for the collective and from trying to manipulate their decisions in life and trying to take away God's power in their life and God actually bringing in, ushering in things into their life and trying to get them to make the wrong decision. Tread very lightly. Because everybody who in the Bible who got in the way of God's plan for somebody's life, for ushering in a new plan in their life, and for those who tried to stop it, you see what happened to them? Everything from as little as, so Abraham and his wife and their children, right? Were in Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember? And then God sent the angel to tell them not to look back at the city. Otherwise, well, I don't know if they warned them that they would turn to salt, but warned them not to look back. The wife looked back and turned into salt. In a sense, she kind of got in the way of God's instructions. So, you know, and eventually Saul, going after David, Saul, yeah, he pursued David for a long time, but David was promised to be king after Saul, right? Eventually Saul's son died in battle, and then Saul took his own life. Okay, so he was taken out eventually. He fell upon his own sword, you could say, right? What he meant for David. He fell upon his own sword. Because God promised David that he would be the king, and he spoke it through his prophet, that he would be king after Saul. That God was taking Saul's power from him because of Saul's pride. Saul kept trying to get in the way of that out of jealousy and envy. Saul kept trying to maintain being king, I guess because he didn't feel it was fair. It was envious and jealousy of David. And he was prideful. So he kept coming for David. And eventually, he let Saul fall upon his own sword. And you know who else, like I said, who else got hurt in the crossfire was Saul's son, who actually liked David. So, tread lightly when trying to purposely, deliberately manipulate the collective into making the wrong choice. From trying to stand in God's way. Go ahead, be my guest. But you and your kin will pay for it in punishment. And this is not coming from ego. This is not coming from a hateful place. Because of my particular situation that's going on, this is a fair warning. Whether anybody chooses to listen to me or not, this is a fair warning. I just received a download for whatever reason, right? At random. And I felt I had to post this looking as crazy as I look. Right? I'm not done up, nothing. No makeup, nothing. Hair's not done, nothing. So this gotta be serious. Alright? This is an earth angel, light healer that's here to help others and lead people in the right direction. Do not stand in God's way. Don't do it. I don't care if you think somebody's not anointed, if you think someone's not chosen, if you think somebody's not, gifted, or you think they're of the devil. Do not stand in his way. He will forcibly move you. And he's big enough too. He has the power to wipe out everyone all at once if he wants to. He will give you warnings. He will give you warnings. Warning after warning after warning. Like he gave Pharaoh. Like he gave Saul. Okay? Warning after warning after warning. Okay, so listen to that inner voice. Listen to that intuition. Listen to those warnings. Do not stand in God's way in anyone's life. Okay? So I don't know who needed to hear that. Collective, just rest assured that, first of all, don't make any irrational decisions. Take your time to meditate. Meditation isn't just, doing Zen things and sitting and with meditation music and connecting with the soul and the 369 method, right? It's not just that. Meditation, you can take time to really meditate on things, on decisions, choices. Don't make any irrational decisions, all right? Especially none out of ego. Don't make any rash decisions out of ego, out of anger, out of jealousy, hate, unforgiveness, right? Meditate and take time to process making different choices, especially lifelong choices and decisions. You have the right to do that. Okay? So, but rest assured, that people are going to start getting punished. I don't care what kind of fantasy world or la la land that these supposed Christians live in, right? I don't call myself a Christian. I'm spiritual. But I don't care what kind of la la land they want to live in and forget that God is still a wrathful God. Okay? That's not going to change the fact that he will punish those who stand in his way. He's also very jealous. In a noble way, mind you. In a very respectable, honorable way. He is a jealous God. So he will move you out of the way if he feels that you're trying to manipulate the collective or the chosen ones or his people, however you want to call it, their decisions. Because guess what? Guess what? When he ushers in their blessings, the collective, the chosen ones, are supposed to give him glory for ushering in those blessings. Yes, we're supposed to praise him and bless him during the hard times too. But he deserves and wants credit for ushering in collective's blessings. And if you try to manipulate and stand in the way of that, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Because you're not only trying to stand in his way purposely, but you're also trying to take away his credit that is very much deserving to him. So I'm going to leave that there. All right, I'm just going to leave this here and take the advice. Don't take the advice. See for yourself. All right, the collective, I'm talking to you now. Don't worry. Okay? Don't worry. So I felt I had to say that. Love you.